India for the past couple of years has been going through a huge economic growth. So there's been a lot of an increase in the middle class. So what I started to recognize was that while there was an economic growth, there was a social regression, and that affected women most strongly, I felt. So in terms of learning about objects in grad school and sort of understanding how objects sort of define people and how they started to define people in India because of the growing middle class, and they were owning more objects, I started to wonder about what those objects meant. And I was reading a lot about the brutality and violence towards women, and I read this one specific incident where a woman was gang raped in Firozabad in Uttar Pradesh, and she committed suicide because of that rape. And I started researching the circumstances around that particular incident, and I found out that Firozabad is one of the largest manufacturers of glass bangles. So I sort of started researching glass bangles and found that they are so much more than just a decorative object that women wear. They really stand for inferiority and weakness, because women are supposed to wear them when they get married, and in certain cultures they have to wear them for an interim period. And if they break them during that interim period, then they are considered bad luck, not the action of breaking the object, but them as a human being considered bad luck. And I also found out that during the national movement, if people didn't support the national movement, men in particular, they were sent glass bangles as a way to be shamed or called cowards, because there was a gender allocation to glass bangles. So just with the act of breaking bangles by a woman being a taboo action, I wanted to sort of be irreverent and react to this object by breaking it deliberately and creating a process where they're reformed into something more empowering. I used domestic appliances because there's a gender allocation there too, where women are supposed to be in the kitchen, do all the cooking, do all the domestic work. So I used only domestic appliances to sort of build this process, and it was important for me to keep the reformed object within the culture of India, because that's how people learn that, because they have something familiar to look to. And the chakra is the weapon that the goddess Durga uses, and she's the manifestation of really strong female energy. And she actually uses the chakra to destroy ignorance. So I thought that that was very relevant. I think because design has infiltrated so many different arenas, maybe for the good, maybe kind of sometimes not so well. I think that it depends on what your position as a designer is. So is it inherently? Probably not, if you choose that path. Like for me, I think that I've chosen that. So I'd like my work to be more politically engaged, more critically engaged, but I don't think that all designers are necessarily politically engaged. Actually, I read excerpts of his work, and it was actually like a pivotal point in my sort of thinking about design, because when I entered the realm of design education for the second time in my master's degree, I felt a level of discomfort that I wasn't able to articulate. And once I read Papanek's excerpts, it gave me a window to start articulating what that discomfort was, because he was reacting to this sort of like boom of consumerism and the wastefulness that sort of comes from that. And for him, like, he was reacting to that, right, where there was like artificial obsolescence, a lot of things that they could talk about. Whereas in our era, like, there's a lot, because of media and information spreading so quickly, there's more that designers or even just people in general have to be aware of. And I don't think that saving the world is it's not specific to one culture. It's so different because different cultures have such different priorities. And so for me, it became, important to sort of like articulate the discomfort that I was feeling in a social way, like social discrepancies with gender and inequality and like the violence towards women. So I think he really opened up a nice channel for me to sort of talk about my work and talk about problems in design.